This is an urgent live weather update. A dangerous storm outbreak is unfolding right now, and millions of people could be in the path. Large hail, damaging winds, and possible tornadoes are already being reported, and this situation is getting worse by the minute. Stay with me because what I'm about to show you could impact your safety tonight. 1. This is not a normal storm. Expanded. This is not a normal storm system, and that's the first thing you need to understand. What we're seeing right now is a highly volatile setup in the atmosphere. Warm, moisture-rich air is surging in at the surface, while powerful winds are racing above it. That combination creates instability, and instability is what turns ordinary storms into dangerous ones. But here's where it gets serious. This system has all the ingredients lined up at the same time, not just one or two factors, but everything coming together in a way that dramatically increases the risk. When that happens, storms don't just form, they intensify rapidly. A storm can go from a small, harmless cell to a severe, damaging system in a very short amount of time. And once that process starts, it becomes much harder to predict exactly how strong it will get. That's why this situation is different. These are the kinds of setups that meteorologists watch very closely because they have a history of producing widespread severe weather. Not isolated storms, but clusters of storms that feed off each other, grow stronger, and cover large areas. And another important detail, this system is moving fast. That means areas that are currently calm may not stay that way for long. Conditions can change quickly, sometimes within the span of minutes. What looks quiet right now could become dangerous before you even realize what's happening. So if you're thinking this is just another Outbreak storm passing through, it's not. This is a dynamic, fast-evolving weather event with the potential to escalate quickly. And understanding that is critical, because the earlier you recognize the risk, the more time you have to prepare. 2. Tornado risk is real. Expanded. Now we need to talk about one of the most dangerous parts of this situation, and that is the tornado risk. This is not just a low-end possibility, it's a real and developing threat. Right now, the atmosphere is showing clear signs of rotation. Winds near the ground are moving in one direction, while winds higher up are moving faster and in a different direction. That change in speed and direction creates a twisting motion in the air, and when a storm taps into that rotation, that's when a tornado can begin to form. But here's what makes this especially dangerous. Tornadoes in setups like this can develop very quickly, sometimes with very little warning. You may not get much time between the first alert and the moment the khatar becomes real. In some cases, these tornadoes can form at night or inside heavy rain, making them nearly impossible to see. That means you might not visually recognize the danger until it's already too close. And it's not just one storm you have to watch. There can be multiple storm cells developing at the same time, each with the potential to rotate. While one area is being impacted, another storm could already be strengthening just miles away. This creates a situation where the threat is constantly shifting. You're not just tracking a single storm, you're dealing with an environment that can produce tornadoes repeatedly over several hours. That's why this kind of setup demands attention. If you are in an area under threat, you cannot afford to wait and see what happens. You need to be thinking ahead, where you would go, what you would do, and how quickly you can move if a warning is issued. Because when tornadoes form in conditions like this, they don't give you much time to react. And that's what makes this situation so serious. 3. Damaging winds and large hail. Expanded. Even if a tornado never forms, these storms are still extremely dangerous. In fact, for many people, the biggest threat may come from something less talked about, but just as destructive, straight-line winds. These are powerful bursts of wind that can surge out of a storm with incredible force. And unlike tornadoes, which are more localized, Damaging winds can cover a much larger area. We're talking about wind strong enough to knock down trees, tear off roofs, and cut power to entire neighborhoods in seconds. And here's the problem. When these winds hit, they often come without much warning. One moment it's just heavy rain, and the next, everything changes. You hear that sudden roar, the pressure shifts, and the storm intensifies almost instantly. That's the kind of alkua these systems can produce. Now add another layer to this, large hail. Inside these storms, powerful updrafts are lifting water droplets high into the atmosphere, where they freeze and grow. The stronger the storm, the larger that hail can become. And when it falls fast. We're talking about hail large enough to shatter windows, dent cars, and cause serious injury if you're caught outside. So this isn't just about what's happening in the sky, it's about what hits the ground. Wind and hail together can create sudden, widespread damage, even in areas that never see a tornado. And just like the rest of this system, it can escalate quickly. You might not see it coming until it's already happening. That's why staying alert is critical, because these storms don't need a tornado to become dangerous. 4. Flash flooding threat expanded. There's another danger with this system that often gets underestimated, and that is flash flooding. While most people focus on wind or tornadoes, water can become just as deadly, sometimes even more so. These storms are capable of producing very heavy rainfall in a short amount of time. When that rain falls faster than the ground can absorb it, the water has nowhere to go. And that's when flooding begins. It doesn't take hours. It doesn't take all day. It can happen in minutes. Streets can quickly turn into flowing streams. Low-lying areas can fill with water before anyone has time to react. And places that normally don't flood can suddenly become dangerous. But here's what makes flash flooding especially risky. It often happens when people are caught off guard. You might be driving, thinking it's just another rainstorm, and then suddenly the road ahead is covered. The depth of that water is almost impossible to judge, especially at night or in poor visibility. And once a vehicle is caught in moving water, it doesn't take much to lose control. That's how quickly a situation can turn serious. Another factor is repetition. These storms can move over the same areas again and again, dropping more rain each time. That constant buildup increases the khatar, especially in cities where drainage systems can become overwhelmed. So even if it starts as just heavy rain, it can escalate rapidly into a dangerous flooding event. And the key thing to remember is this: by the time you realize how serious the flooding is, it may already be too late to safely move through it. That's why awareness matters. Because with flash flooding, the danger isn't always loud or obvious at first, but it builds quickly and it hits hard. 5. Where it's hitting right now. Expanded. Now let's focus on where this situation is unfolding right now, because location matters. This is not a slow, isolated storm sitting in one place. This is a developing system that is actively spreading and evolving. Storms are already forming across key regions, and new cells are continuing to develop along the same boundary. That means the threat is not fixed. It's expanding. What makes this especially dangerous is how quickly conditions can change from one location to the next. One area might be experiencing light rain or even calm weather, while just a short distance away, severe storms are already producing damaging winds or rotation. And that contrast can be misleading. People often assume that because it's quiet where they are, the danger isn't close. But with a system like this that can change very fast, storms are moving, and they're moving with purpose. As they track forward, they're tapping into the same unstable environment, allowing them to maintain strength or even intensify as they go. So areas that are currently not under impact are not necessarily safe. They may simply be next. And here's another key point. New storms can develop ahead of the main line. That means even if you think the worst has already passed, another round could be forming right behind it. This creates a situation where the threat doesn't just arrive once, it can continue in waves. That's why it's important to stay aware not just of what's happening right now, but what's coming next. Because in a setup like this, the danger isn't just where the storms are, it's where they're going. 6. Timing is critical. Expanded. Now we need to talk about something that could make all the difference in how this situation plays out for you, and that is timing. Because with a storm system like this, timing isn't just important, it's everything. Right now, we are in a very active window. The atmosphere is already primed, storms are already developing, and conditions are aligned in a way that supports rapid intensification. That means the threat is not something that might happen later, it is something that is already beginning to unfold. But here's where it becomes even more serious. This is not a single moment in time. This is a window, a period where conditions remain dangerous for several hours, and during that window, multiple rounds of storms can develop, strengthen, and move through different areas. So even if one storm passes, that does not mean the threat is over. In fact, in many cases, the most dangerous part of the system can arrive after the first wave. Early storms can actually help set the stage for even stronger storms later by enhancing the instability and reshaping the environment. That means the situation can build over time, and as we move deeper into this event, especially toward the evening hours, another factor begins to take over. Darkness. Nighttime changes everything. During the day, you might be able to see storm clouds building. You might notice the sky getting darker, the structure of the storm becoming more defined. But at night, all of that visual awareness disappears. You can't see what's coming, and that's what makes nighttime severe weather especially dangerous. Tornadoes can be hidden inside rain. Damaging winds can arrive without any visible warning, and people are often less prepared because they're at home, resting, or not actively monitoring the situation. This is where timing becomes critical. If a warning is issued during the night, your reaction time is already reduced. You are starting from a delayed position, waking up, processing the information, figuring out what to do, and in fast-moving situations like this, seconds matter. Now add another layer to this. Storms are not moving slowly. They are tracking at a steady pace, which means the window between safe and dangerous can be very short. One moment, conditions may seem manageable. The next, you are directly in the path of a severe storm. There is very little transition. That's why waiting until the last minute is not a good strategy in a setup like this. You have to think ahead of the storm, not react to it once it's already on top of you. And this is something many people underestimate. They wait for confirmation. They wait to see exactly how bad it will get. They wait for visual signs, but by the time those signs are obvious, the storm has already reached a point where your options are limited. Timing is what gives you control. The earlier you recognize the risk, the more choices you have. The more time you have to prepare, to move, to get into a safe position before conditions deteriorate. But once that window starts to close, your ability to respond becomes much more limited. And that's exactly what happens in fast-developing storm outbreaks like this. The window opens quickly, and it can close just as fast. So the key message here is simple but critical. Do not wait for the perfect moment to act. Do not assume you'll have plenty of time, because in situations like this, the difference between being prepared and being caught off guard often comes down to just a few minutes, and those minutes can make all the difference. 7. What you need to do now. Expanded. Everything we've talked about leads to this moment, what you need to do right now, because information alone doesn't keep you safe. Action does. And in a situation like this, waiting is where people make their biggest mistake. The storms are already developing. The environment is already unstable. This is not the time to think about preparing later. This is the moment where decisions matter. So the first thing you need to do is become aware of your situation. Not generally aware, specifically aware. Where are you right now in relation to this system? Are you in a risk zone? Are storms approaching your area within the next hour or sooner? Because once you understand your position, you can start making the right decisions. The second step is this: remove uncertainty. You should not be guessing what to do if a warning is issued. You should already know. Where is your safe place? Is it a lower level, an interior room, somewhere away from windows? These are not decisions you want to make under pressure. These are decisions you make now, while you still have time. Because when a warning comes in, everything speeds up. Your heart rate increases, the situation becomes more intense, and thinking clearly becomes harder. Preparation removes that chaos. Now here's something else that matters: your alerts. You need to make sure you have a reliable way to receive warnings immediately, not minutes later, not after someone else tells you, instantly. Because in fast-moving storms, delays can cost you the time you need to act. And don't rely on just one source. Have multiple ways to stay informed. Because technology can fail, signals can drop, and storms can disrupt communication. Redundancy keeps you connected. Now let's talk about movement. This is not the time for unnecessary travel. If you are thinking about going out, running errands, or being on the road during this event, you need to reconsider. Conditions can deteriorate rapidly. Visibility can drop. Roads can become dangerous due to water, debris, or sudden wind. And once you are caught outside in severe conditions, your options become limited very quickly. Being in the wrong place at the wrong time is how situations escalate. Staying in a safe, controlled environment gives you the best chance to respond effectively. And finally, this is about mindset. Do not underestimate this situation. Do not assume it will weaken before it reaches you. Do not assume you'll have plenty of warning. Hope is not a strategy. Awareness is, preparation is, action is. The people who stay ahead of situations like this are the ones who take it seriously early, not after it becomes obvious. Because by then, the window to act has already narrowed. So take a moment right now. Think about where you are. Think about what you would do if conditions suddenly worsened. Think about how quickly you could move to safety if you had to, and make those decisions now, not later. Because storms like this don't wait, and neither should you. This is your moment to be ready. This is your moment to stay ahead of the danger. And what you do right now could make all the difference. This is a situation that is still developing, and it's not over yet. Storms are continuing to evolve. New areas could come under threat, and conditions can still change quickly as we move forward. What matters now is what you do next. Stay aware, keep your alerts on. Do not assume the danger has passed just because things seem quiet for the moment. With systems like this, the calm can be temporary, and the next round can arrive faster than expected. If you are in or near a risk area, take this seriously. Have your plan ready. Know where you would go, and make sure the people around you are prepared as well. Because when severe weather unfolds like this, being a few minutes early is always better than being a few seconds too late. We'll continue to monitor this closely and bring you updates as this situation develops. If you want to stay ahead of dangerous weather like this, make sure you're subscribed and ready for the next alert. Stay safe, stay prepared, and stay one step ahead.